Before we start with the activities at the DAR Ritual, I'd like to welcome you all. I know it was foggy. When we were planning this activity in February, for this February meeting, I was so afraid that we were going to have snow, and then I really wasn't quite sure what we were going to do, or backup plan. But in any case, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoy yourself. I'm especially looking forward to the fashion show. I have seen the clothes before they were on bodies, so it's going to be even extra special to see these ladies present the fashions that would be worn by a lady to the Nelly Custis chapter. Now, before we actually start these activities, please join us with the DAR Ritual. Mary Beth Cuddy will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Ann Terrio leading us in the American's Creed, ending with Miss Amanda Jakuziak leading us in the singing of the first stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner. Ladies, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Regent of the Nelly Custis chapter of the National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, I now declare this meeting in session. Please remain standing through the singing of the first stanza of the national anthem. Dr. Cuddy.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Terrio.
I believe the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Daughters, we meet to further the objectives of our society, Daughters of the American Revolution, to honor the memory of our ancestors, to foster good citizenship, and to emphasize the privilege and duty of patriotism.
Give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, make known among nations what he has done.
They rejoice daily and are jubilant in your righteousness.
Search for the Lord and his strength, continually seek his face.
Remember his marvelous works that he has done.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for our patriot ancestors who had the courage to settle this great land and the vision to build a strong nation. We are ever grateful for the commitment of our society's founders to commemorate and perpetuate the spirit and purpose of those extraordinary men and women. Grant us wisdom and understanding as we strive to protect and preserve our American heritage so that future generations might continue to live in freedom and peace. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. As you find your chairs and your name tags and saying hello to one another. Those of you who are taking pictures, my historian would like for you to send her those pictures when you have a chance so that she can put them in our scrapbook. In the very back, you see our scrapbooks. You also see our Patriots tree. So there's a talented individual. Sonia, please stand.
Oh.
I said to Sonia, I have a wonderful idea, but I don't know how to make it happen. Can you help me? And so I found the tree, and Sonia did the creative work of placing all of our ancestors on this tree. So at some point in time, please take the time to see this Patriots tree. Also, I have to thank Ann Somerset, who could not be with us today. She has 2 little boys who are very active in Saturday sports, but she made our 90th birthday cake. There's enough to feed an army, so I told the staff, you don't have to be stingy with the slices. So, if you elect not to eat it, that would be fine, but you know what, I think it's going to be very good. But in any case, please enjoy our celebration today. But I have several important people to introduce to you today. Joining the Nelly Custis members and the associate members are several honored guests. Please hold your applause until each group has been introduced. Guests, as I introduce you, please stand and remain standing until you have been introduced. Dan Stork was supposed to be with us today, and I bet you he's traveling someplace, but Dan Stork, who is a member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervising, representing the Mount Vernon District, is supposed to be in a missing chair. Also joining us today, I have the honor to introduce Mrs. Rebecca Rogers, Virginia State First Vice Regent, Mrs. Lori Nesbitt, State Organizing Secretary, Dr. Sherry Edwards, Virginia State Recording Secretary, and Ms. Mary B. White, excuse me, our state parliamentarian. You may greet our guests. Also, next, thank you ladies, representing the District 5 is our District Director and our keynote speaker today, Mrs. Wanda English. She loves hats. She was disappointed when I said we were not wearing hats. But I said she was special, so she could wear a hat anytime she wanted one.
She really lays it on strong.
Yeah. Today we also have some very hard-working regents. And if you've never been regent, I'm sure you will know by talking to these ladies just how difficult this position can be. Again, please hold your applause until all of our guests have stood. Joining me today is Mrs. Elise Harvey, Anna Marie Fitzhugh chapter. Next to her is Mrs. Susan Harbin. She is Regent of the Falls of the Rappahannock chapter. Mrs. Marlene Reckley Murphy, Fort Ligonier chapter in Pennsylvania. And she was also a Nelly Custis member and now an associate member. Mrs. Margaret Powell, Dr. Elijah Dick, and Mrs. Charlotte Rauch, Arlington House. Other chapter officers present today include Cindy Coville, librarian, Arlington House, Mary Lou Wall, treasurer of Mount Vernon chapter, missing in action. You may now greet these ladies. I missed you, Margaret. Please stand, Margaret. Thank you. Ms. Margaret Stromberg. She is a district officer. I don't know how I did this except my laboratory. Thank you, Margaret. I didn't want to go without recognizing you. You do so much for every organization I'm in. Joining us today is the president of the SAR George Washington chapter, Ernie Coggins. Would you like to bring greetings, Ernie?
On behalf of the George Washington chapter, I would like to offer all of you our greetings and also our congratulations on 90 years. It will be a long way before we get there. And I wish you 90 and 90 more. Thank you very much.
hope to be around for another 90, Ernie. Thank you. Pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I would be remiss if I did not introduce the backbone of the Nelly Custis chapter, her executive board. These ladies work extremely hard to make sure that we have a smooth running chapter. And to be honest with you, some months run smoother than others. But if you are a regent, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Which ones are those?
The odd months. The even months are the good months. Chapter first vice regent, and to my right is Dr. Mary Beth Cutting. Second vice regent is Mrs. Judy Hoover. Chaplain is Miss Amanda Jakuziak. Register is Liz Hyde. Historian is Miss Mary Jane Stockstill. Librarian is Miss Jenny Snyder. Thank you, ladies. These ladies make me look good, and I appreciate each and every one of them. I've asked Mrs. Hyde to please stand and give a background about the Nelly Custis chapter and to introduce two very special prospective members who are direct ties to two of our organizing members. Mrs. Hyde.
As most of you know, the Nelly Custis chapter was not always called Nelly Custis. It used to be called Irvine Wells, and it was founded down here at Fort Humphreys, which was Fort Belvoir, in 1928. And I think they, had a party at somebody's house and decided, why don't we do this? But the thing that's been so fascinating about it is that two of our prospective members, Lynn and Susan Aldersley, are the nieces of two aunts who were part of those founding members. They joined DAR in April of that same year. And one of them, I think it was Mildred Pierce. Wait a minute. Yeah, Blanche Pierce, excuse me, served 2 times as chapter regent. And so anyway, it's really a nice connection, and we're looking forward to having them, their application to be approved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hyde. Now, there are two special ladies who, whenever I need special help and assistance to making flowers on Thursday evening, the flowers that are in front of you, we had a party. There was wine, there was cheese, but more importantly, we had 3 special ladies that helped me. Pamela Reed. Let me introduce Pamela, because not only is she the honorary regent of Nelly Custis, she also serves the Cameo Club, the Potomac Regents Club, and is a state officer for CAR. You have to put Pamela's telephone number on speed dial and hope that she picks up, because she's running from one place to another every day of the week. And when I call home and talk to her husband, he usually gives me a rundown of where she is and says, "Don't you have her cell phone?" I said, "Yes," but it's not always a guarantee that I can find Pamela when I need her. But in any case, she came to me on Thursday evening with scissors in hand, and together the 4 of us put flowers together in about 2.5 hours. So
I'm not sure I want to stand for these. They are pretty flowers, but don't look too closely at how they're connected. The other 3 ladies were significantly better than I was, and I was able to move them around.
Pamela has a standing rule, and the rule is if I can't see your face, the flowers are too big. So my idea was to keep them low, and so that you could see your neighbor.
Well done.
Also standing, and I should introduce, is Dr. I just advanced you a degree, Donna, Mrs. Donna Porcaro. She's also an honorary regent of Nelly Custis, and she is now the president of the Potomac Regents Club. These 2 ladies, thank you all. These 2 ladies are my go-to people. When I'm in doubt, I ask them what they would do, how they would do it. I have learned and continue to learn from these ladies every day, because they always give me such sage wisdom. And Donna just the other night said to me, "Don't you know when to delegate? This is a delegation duty that you should do." And I said, "Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am." There are other special friends that our members have invited. And I would like to recognize these individuals now. The whole intent is that when we're finished with all these introductions, you will look left, you will look right, and you will know everybody at that table. So that's the modus operandi. I will go first. I would like to introduce Mrs. Karen Engel. She was an elementary school teacher in Fairfax County for many, many years, and she just retired. However, the principals love her so much that they asked her to put the harness back on and serve as substitute teachers. Whenever I call or write Karen, Karen will tell me, I'm going to Bush Hill. Bush Hill? Rosebush.
Rose Hill.
Rose Hill. Elementary school. I've known Karen now for 30-odd years. She knows the good of me, she knows the bad of me, and she is always there for me. So welcome and thank you for coming, Karen. There are many other guests. Now, as members, you invited someone. Please stand and please help me to learn your guest. Anita, you want to go first? You're first out of the box, I saw.
Couldn't wait. You want to stand? This is Vivian Cronston. She's my Avon lady. But she's also a member of the Constitution chapter from Washington, D.C. She's a member of the 50 Years Club.
I've been at 60.
But she's been 60. She's also a member of the Lions Club. That's Lion Earring Club. Yeah, Mount Vernon Lions Club. And you can see all of her pins. Oh, she told me she worked for the FBI. I can't wait to get all the goodies about her job.
Thank you, Anita. Would someone else like to introduce a guest, please?
I'd like to introduce Steve Hibbert, who is here from, as a reporter from the Mount Vernon Gazette. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate you spending the time to cover this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for coming. And thank you for being with the ladies. You and Ernie have a privileged place. Bonnie.
Yes, this is my mom, Sue Evangelista. She's a member of the Culpeper Minutemen chapter. She lives in Warrenton, so it's not super local for her, but she came up here to be with me and for the fashion show, and she's excited to see what we do and maybe take us back to her chapter as well.
Sue, pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming. Yes, ma'am.
This is my friend, Julia Swan. Julia and I met several years ago, but we've become absolute besties. She then deserted me and moved to Kentucky. But she came up this weekend on her way to other places, and I said, Julia, I got a deal for you. Let's go to a fashion show. She's a great sport. She's a huge patriot, works for the federal government, and she's done all kinds of really nice things. So she will know everybody in this room before she leaves. I haven't met half of them, so she'll know you all.
Is there anyone else who would like to present a guest? Absolutely, please do.
As a former member and current associate, I'd like to introduce my friend Barbara Trotter. Barbara Trotter and I go way back to Army days, sailing days, all kinds of fun things, and hopefully someday a prospective member.
I'm going to talk out of school because when there's Continental Congress, Pamela and I stay at the Army-Navy Club, but Barbara and Marlene also stay at the Army-Navy Club, which is always very interesting because during Continental Congress, the Army-Navy Club is taken over by women. And so when these officers come in and guests come in and they want to sit at the daiquiri bar, they all come in and they kind of go and look left and right and see nothing but women standing there enjoying their drinks, and then going to dinner and having dinner, and then going up to their hotel, and they say, well, we can't find a room, and the front desk always says, well, I'm sorry, we have other guests that came in. Well, you don't have room for us? And they say, well, no, it's already been taken over. And so it's always a fun time to see Barbara and Marlene, and thank you so much for coming today. Was there someone else? Please, Stacy.
My good friend here, this is Sue Allen, and she's my friend and also a fellow historian, and she is the curator for our historic house here in that house. She does a beautiful job, and she actually did all of our posters this holiday, and the directors of the other sites are trying to get her to do their posters for the house. So, let's see.
I'm sorry, Stacy, I couldn't hear all that you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. She's my friend and fellow historian, and she's the curator at our Marietta house. And actually, she and her sister just started on their ancestry journey as well.
We've gotten into the habit of doing teas and tours throughout Alexandria. And we always do the locations that Stacy does the tours, does the teas, excuse me. So we had one at Christmas time, we'll have one coming up at the Carlisle House in April. Ms. Hyde.
I think Amanda was going to introduce her mother.
My mother, Anne Mary Ports, is with us today, which is also because she was supposed to be overseas at the time, but she got back a little bit earlier from the assignment, so she's able to join us as she works for the State Department.
Thank you, Liz. I guess my peripheral vision is not very good this morning. It was at this point in time that Dan Stork was supposed to take the podium, but maybe something has been
You left it behind.
You know, I saw Dan Stork. He's a very busy man. We all know that. The reality is I saw him on television the other night eating chili. And I thought, well, he must be a judge at the chili cooking contest that the NBC news station was conducting between the Montgomery County and Prince George's County and Fairfax County firefighters. But he was there in his glory eating the chili, so I don't know whether he was a taster or a judge. But in any case, I asked the cooks to start bringing chicken, to bring lunch back. I said it would be about 20 minutes, and without Dan Stork, there goes the 20 minutes. So I'm going to say to you, enjoy your lunch. There is no rush. I know that the models were concerned that they would have to gobble down their food and not be ready and have indigestion when they had to show the fashions. So please enjoy your lunch. We will have Amanda give the blessing.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we praise you for the world which you have created for us. We thank you for the patriotic founders of our nation and of our national society. We thank you for the women who had the vision and commitment to dedicate themselves to this chapter and this organization. We continue to seek your guidance for the leaders of our nation and your protection for the men and women of our military forces. We ask your blessing on this meeting, on this meal, which marks the 90th anniversary of our Nelly Custis chapter. With thanksgiving in our hearts, we say, Amen.
Please enjoy your lunch. Coffee, ice cream on the side. There is a cash bar in the back.
apologize because I'm supposed to be getting another take my name and I got lost.
Degree in finance from Miami University, that's in Ohio, not Florida. And he also has his MBA from the same university. He's been married to his wife Deb for 40 years. Almost 42. That's even a bigger feather in his cap. He also has 3 grown children. So I'm going to ask Mr. Stork to come forward and bring greetings. And please continue to enjoy your dessert, because right after Mr. Stork, we have the fashion show, ladies. Mr. Stork, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Nelly. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here and to welcome you to, if you're not a member or not a resident of Mount Vernon District, welcome to the Mount Vernon District, and welcome to at least this part of Fairfax County. Truly and truly is, I think, the best part of Fairfax County for a lot of reasons. Because the least, the most of which, or maybe the most important part of that, is the fact that the name Mount Vernon comes literally from truly our most important, our most famous leader and president, George Washington. So truly somebody, I mean, I get a lot of times, and for those of you who know me, you know that I like to present another wonderful president. To do that. I've had, particularly the last couple of weeks, I've done that again. Not only in the local schools, which I truly enjoy, elementary school kids particularly, you always have that wide-eyed look when they see you with the hat and the coat and all that, and frankly are convinced that you're the real thing, which is always kind of gives you a lot of pleasure and smiles. And also I've done the Alexandria Parade for now 24 years, and truly do that as well, so and enjoy doing that as well. But as Abraham Lincoln said, George Washington truly was his favorite president by far, and I did a wreath laying at Mount Vernon, George Washington's tomb this past President's Day, and I won't remember this exactly, but I read a quote from Abraham Lincoln that talked about George Washington being the, if you will, the light of, frankly, the light of this world and the sun that could never be dimmed. Truly one of those remarkable people in our history, and frankly in the history of the world, that we all can recognize, and particularly in this day and age, understand how, in many ways, unique he was. A leader who stepped back from leadership, a potential dictator who wanted it to be a democracy, and somebody who truly was, I think, both an elected official in this case, but a general, but a military leader, but also, and the part that, frankly, I most connect with him on is the fact that he was a fine business person and an innovator, and somebody who truly could combine, if you will, the farmer, leader, general, somebody who combined those finest qualities, I hope, in us as a country, but in each of us. I know we all strive for that. And I know, my personal hero, Lincoln, sure did that in lots of different ways. I'll say this, one more thing on the historical part of that, but one of the key parts of what I do when I talk to kids is I have Abe Lincoln's hat, and I like to read a book to the youngest kids. It's called Abe Lincoln's Hat. And the kids, a few of the kids usually have read it, some haven't, but the book talks about how Lincoln would keep his papers, and he always kept important papers in his hat. And that really attracts particularly younger kids. They're really fascinated. They're always looking at my hat as I'm doing this, wondering if I have papers in my hat. So at the very end of it, I ask one of the kids to come up, and they take the hat off, and they look inside, and their eyes go real big. They say, oh, he's got important papers in his hat. And they take them out, and one of them is the Declaration of Independence. And I like to tie these things together for them. And the Declaration of Independence talks obviously about we the people, but more importantly, it talks about the rights that we have as a country. That these rights are the rights of life, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and how important that is, connected to our whole Declaration of Independence and Constitution, etc. And then I pull out the Gettysburg Address and do 7 years ago, or maybe 7 years before, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And I try to tie those things to them in a way that I think they may remember long term. I don't know how much that they remember, but I do know that when I see many of these kids now 20 years later, they give me this like, oh, I remember you, and they clearly, there's a recollection, there's a connection to, in my mind, an important historical figure, and hopefully the history of our country is, at least was brought forward to them, and they could see it come to life for them, at least at one day in their life, and particularly at a time of their life when magic is all around them, and the dreams and the imagination are those cross between reality all the time, and they can kind of get a feeling for that in a way that we as adults can't, because we're obviously more grounded. The grounded part of the job that I do and love is being elected representative. I was on the school board for 12 years and president of the school, chairman of the school board many years, and truly love that. But I've always been more of a business person, more of a developer, more of someone who likes to get things done. And my love of history and my love to get things done has really come together with something that we're working on in our community right now. There's two major things I want to mention, and then I'll shut up, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But two major themes, actually I should say three major things that are happening in this community. One is that our highway, Richmond Highway, Route 1, is undergoing some radical changes. For most of us, not soon enough, but it's still happening. And the first part of that we saw from Fort Belvoir on down to Telegraph Road and Morton Road, the widening of the road, and now we have, frankly, walkways and bikeways, and soon in the future, frankly, bus rapid transit down the middle of that. That's one of the major pieces, because that same look and feel that you have for Route 1 from Fort Belvoir down is going to happen to us north of Fort Belvoir. And the next major segment is from essentially Woodlawn up to where the Costco is now. That's going to become essentially 3 lanes in each direction. It's going to have walkways and bikeways and all the center lane bus rapid transit. And then the other part of that is even further, going further north up to the Beltway in Huntington. That whole area is going to have bus rapid transit down the middle. It's essentially an inexpensive metro system. And ultimately, this bus rapid transit system will provide us with a metro system 20 or 30 years down the road. But what's really essential about it is the revitalization that it brings. Public investment begets private investment. In this case, if you add it all up, we're talking about spending probably almost $1 billion on the Richmond Highway corridor to modernize it, widen the highway, and get bus rapid transit. With key bus rapid transit stops, about eight of them, from the Huntington Metros all the way down to Fort Belvoir. And eventually it will go down from Fort Belvoir all the way down to Woodbridge. So that's one major development. It's a 10-year process. We've started it. We have lots of planning meetings. We are getting ready to approve what we call comprehensive plan changes, which are the kind of density and the other kinds of changes that will happen on either side of the highway. And that kind of density is what's required to ultimately have the highway. And I'm talking about just along the highway, a quarter, a half mile within the highway, not all the neighborhoods on either side. Those pretty much will be preserved and kept as they are today. But right along the highway, it's going to be a more urbanized area, which is going to allow us to have developers come in and frankly tear out much of the old stuff that's there and build some of the new stuff that we need to ultimately truly make this a 21st century highway. In my mind, and for the community here, truly bring us into the 21st century. Now there's two major other things I want to mention that are essential to preserving the other parts of our community, the character, in my mind, the history of our community. One of them is something we call Original Mount Vernon High School. OMVHS, it was called the ISA building, it was called the Saudi Academy, but originally it was the original Mount Vernon High School. It was built in 1939. It is undergoing a major development look, planning effort to try to see what it should become. We just hired, the Board of Supervisors, we just hired about 2 weeks ago an organization to do the development and planning of that work, that future changes that will be there. The Alexander Company or Elm Street companies Those folks have been hired to be the master planner and to come and meet with all of us, the community, and see what we want that building, that complex to become. The building right now is right on the highway. It's right across from the South County Government Center. Again, original Mount Vernon High School, built in 1939. Lots of other buildings around there. But there's about 40 acres that go back of that all the way to the George Washington Recreation Center. And the George Washington Recreation Center has a pool and some exercise facilities there. And then on the other side of the street from that is the new Mount Vernon High School. So it will basically be a road path, if you will, from Route 1 over to the George Washington Recreation Center. What do we want that to become? We've had task forces that have looked at that, but this master planner is going to come and is coming to us and saying, what do we want it to be? Lots of different ideas have been presented, from having it be a senior and youth recreation center, which is currently being used on a temporary basis. I think that's probably a wise look. There's a beautiful gym there. Early childhood education, we have a lack of spaces for early childhood. We have more than 1,000 low-income kids in our community that are not getting early childhood development that we think could benefit from it, and this would be a way for them to have classroom space that they could do that. It could have we have a lot of not-for-profits that if we co-located them, they might be able to do and better serve our community. We have one of my particular passions as a business person, an entrepreneur for more than 2 decades, an innovation center, an incubation center, a way of frankly attracting youth, attracting folks who want to stay on the quarter, want to try different things, want to frankly use their brain power to create centers of uniqueness and centers of opportunity within the Mount Vernon district community. In some ways, I'm calling that the building, the original Mount Vernon High School, a human development center. Not only as a business center, we have, but also a higher education center. We have Northern Virginia Community College is committed to begin offering classes there in the near future. So lots of really positive things that we believe will be able to happen there. But we're just starting the community engagement, and we want you all to be part of that. There'll be signs that we put in front of it to announce meetings and activities, ways to gather your thoughts. But please do not hesitate to share them with us. We want to try to find a balance there. All it could be housing that's built on some of the acreage there. We're not really sure. That's the beauty of this. But whatever happens, we know this. It's going to be there for at least several generations, and we want to get it right, which means we need all of you involved to make sure that we have the right vision, the right sense of the future, so that 50 years from now, folks will look back and go, wow, they made some good decisions about how that fits in with the community, what our needs are. And then the third item I wanted to mention to you all is something that I've had a strong passion about, and actually named this when I first took office a couple of years ago. It's called either the colonial corridor or the cultural corridor. What is that? Well, we have huge historical assets and heritage sites in this area, and ones that I am deeply proud of. Obviously, we can start with Mount Vernon Estate, and that is second to none probably in the country as a private historical site. We have Fort Hunt Park. For those of you who may or may not know, not only the earlier wars of our country that it protected Washington, but also it served as a prisoner of war camp during World War II. We have the whole George Washington Parkway that is truly historic in and of itself. We have Woodlawn and the Frank Lloyd Wright House that are also key parts of our community. We have Arcadia, which works with veterans and works with others about how to farm and teaching them how to farm, which to me ties a lot of the history of agriculture to this area. And then we have the new United States Army National Army Museum, which will be just about 3 miles from the Woodlawn site. So you have the National Museum of the U.S. Army right along the parkway. You have obviously Woodlawn and Frank Lloyd Wright House. You have the grist mill and the distillery. You have then George Washington, Mount Vernon, and we have all these cultural heritage assets right within a few miles of each other. This cultural corridor is an opportunity for us to bring people to our community and to have them come and spend time, much like they might do if they were to go to Williamsburg, but we offer really different kinds and different ways that they can connect and provide some of the history and frankly, some of the beauty that we can bring out by having those cultural sites connect, provide bike paths, one of the key things that I'm working on, and walkways between all those different sites. Have families that come not just for a half a day, take their bus in, and all of us who've been over to the Mount Vernon estate, you drive by there on a Saturday morning, you'll see a line of 50 buses out there, and they're there for 2 or 3 hours, right? And we love it, I'm glad they're there. But wouldn't it be so much better for them to come and stay at a hotel, a full-service hotel with a swimming pool, or places that they could stay for the weekend, and go visit the Mount Vernon estate and go to Woodlawn and like Wright's house and the museum, National Museum of the U.S. Army. We have lots of other historical, we have at Mason Neck, we have also the house there, Mason's house, George Mason's house. So there's an opportunity there to have a different vision of what is now, and for those of us who drive by there and have driven by there for almost 30 years, the 7-Eleven and the gas station on the corner just doesn't quite cut it. Not to me, anyways. And the IMP building, which has mostly been vacant for a good 10 or 20 years, we have a chance to have that area where Woodlawn and Nelly Custis spent her, if you will, her birthday gift, or no, her wedding gift, I'm sorry, to really make that whole area look like it truly is historic and truly represents the history and the heritage that this area has. And the Rochambeau route that we all recognize. I mean, there's so many elements here that we can tie to that. And like anything that we do, it starts with a vision, it starts with a concept, and you then work on it. It'll take years to realize that, but I'm bringing this to you all as a way of saying, join me, help me, we can do this. We're going to need the community support. I have a tourism task force, which is one of their charges, that is to work on these things, but I would welcome any of you who might want to be part of something like this. There are many other things that we're doing in the community. I've probably spent more time than I should anyways, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And maybe the most important thing I can ask you or say to you is that if you want to know more about what's going on in the community, we have a regular newsletter that we send out. All you need to do is to email our office. If you don't remember this, then Mount Vernon, it's mtvernon, M-T-V-E-R-N-O-N, @fairfaxcounty.gov. That's our email address. If you don't remember that, just when you go to the website, just put in Mount Vernon, Fairfax County, Mount Vernon. It will always take you to our website, and you can click on there and sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter has probably once a week we send something out, but it's really what's going on in the community here, and we welcome you to be part of it. And again, my objective is just to kind of connect us all and bring us all together, because we have some unique things, heritages that nobody else has, and particularly in this area. And I would say, with maybe the possible exception of Williamsburg, nobody has the collection of cultural and historic and heritage resources that we have here. And I want to try to build on that and try to connect more people, particularly our kids, with those resources and in that history. So, happy to answer any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say the Army Museum is going to be on the George Washington Parkway?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. It's the Fairfax County Parkway. I apologize.
Okay.
There's two different parkways. Yes, ma'am. It's a Fairfax County Parkway. If you travel from here and you go down Route 1 Richmond Highway through Fort Belvoir, you'll see a road off to your right at the end of at least the main gate of Fort Belvoir, and you just take that right. And if you drive that way over to 95, you'll see where you'll see it rising on the right side. Okay. It's a good probably 5 or 6 stories now.
Oh.
Yeah, it opens in 1919, so it's or 2019.
I thought it was going to be a shelter or something.
I'd say one of our other very important memorials that we have in Mount Vernon District, which is the Suffragette Museum, which is in the Workhouse Arts Center. We also, and this I think I meant to mention anyways, they need your help. There's a Suffragette Museum that's being built. They've been raising money for now, I know, more than 5 years, to locate this memorial at the Occoquan Regional Park, which is right along the Occoquan River, and just below the Workhouse Arts Center, if you know where that is. They've been raising money. Obviously, 2020 is is our 100th anniversary, and one that we ought to all be celebrating. Obviously, the 19th Amendment. I know as a school board member, I deeply tried to get the community to honor something that I felt really needed to be honored, which is to name one of the 3 schools that I got built as a school board member in that area. I wanted to name it after one of the suffragists. I could not convince the community to do that. They had kind of bland names of South County Middle School, South County High School, and Moreland Hill Elementary School. But there are ways that we need to honor the contributions of women. I know I'm talking to the right audience, right? But this is, anybody who knows me, this has been my passion for a long time. And please take a look. They could use your financial support. I know that. The county, we just brought forth a memo on the county's part to look at maybe assisting them financially some as well because of the tourism opportunities that it has and its proximity to the Workhouse Arts Center. But if you could keep that in mind as well, I would appreciate it. Other questions?
I haven't been on that road.
Yes, ma'am.
Not really a question, Don. I could call him Don. Could you elaborate on what they're going to do with the old Mount Vernon High School? Since my husband works for United Community Ministries, they were indicating they were going to move those types of agencies into that building, combined with some other agencies.
There's lots of different ideas that are out there. There was a task force that my predecessor put together that they issued a report. I thought it did a pretty good job of summarizing the different options and opportunities. One of which was to not only have the youth and the senior centers there, but also to co-locate many of the not-for-profits in the area and have them have kind of a central way of coordinating and working with community members. Lots of different kinds. Obviously, some of it is focused on lower-income folks, some of it's focused on folks who have special needs, lots of different things. That's one of an idea as well. I mentioned as well an innovation center, an incubation center. There's a huge amount. There's more than 40,000 square feet of space there. So it's a lot of room to do lots of things. And that's really the key question, to offer community college classes. That's something that community is an essential part of what that should be doing. So this process over the next year, next 9 months, is to get information, gather ideas, and to put together only a plan that the community would embrace that we could then move forward with over the next 5 or 10 years to actually implement. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, if you just, again, Vernon, MTVRNON, at fairfaxcounty.gov, or go to the website, you can look at that and you can sign up there. We will be happy to put you on our list, and there'll be all kinds of information about what's going on and when it's going on. We're also going to post signs in front of the original Mount Vernon High School for folks who go by, so you can at least see when the community meetings are going to be held, etc. Look forward to having you be part of that.
Second part. Where Pendle
Yes.
is, they already put in some housing on one side. Can you elaborate what's going to go on the other hand?
Sure. That development is one of the, it's considered a kind of one of those pilot, almost a pilot development in terms of it got more development, more activity started on the corridor. Next door to that, they tore down the old shopping center there. They have a new shopping center coming in there, and it's going to be what they call multi-use, so it's going to have both housing and commercial places there. I'm sorry, I may get this wrong. It's either a Lidl or an Aldi's that's going to be the grocery store anchor chain, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which it is, along with other.
Isn't it called Aldi's?
It's either Aldi's or Lidl. Lidl is they're both German grocers.
Right, I know they're owned by Trader Joe's and Aldi's are owned by Brothers.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which one it is. I get the two of them confused. One of those two is the one who's
The one from Germany, I got.
So it's we have a tremendous amount of development that's occurring around Huntington. I could spend even more time on that. We have a major new development that we're going to be tearing out the Huntington Club condominiums and building 10-story high-rise and stuff. This is adjacent to the Huntington Metro Station. Riverside, where you come off the Beltway, those apartment complexes there, we're going to be building another about 600 units. They're going to open up that whole area there, and I got that as part of their agreement, my agreement with them to open up and add those additional homes. They're going to provide places along the Hunting Creek to access Potomac River, so there'll be a put-in for a kayak or canoe or whatever you might be there, as long as walkways along there. We have a new Huntington levee that we're building there to keep the Huntington community from flooding. That'll open up in 2019 as well. So that whole area, in a matter of 2 more years, will be a beautiful park area that you can go and kind of walk along the area, the Hunting River, Hunting Creek area there as well. And only there'll be a path that connects that area all the way to the parkway, and then the parkway you can walk from there, either bike or walk from there all the way over to National Harbor. So it'll really have a whole kind of more of a river walk kind of feel to it. So again, many more things happen. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, do you cover the area where Top Golf used to be and the houses that they're building there?
That's actually Lead District.
Oh, that's the district. I was just kind of curious. That was a dump. And the house that they're building there.
Yes.
I mean, I know the area you're talking about, but I don't know what's going on there, because it's, if we're near to.
Houses are going in there.
Houses are going in.
Houses, and it was a dump, and it was poison.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. Oh, I didn't mean, that's, you're talking about where the Wegmans is? Next to the Wegmans? Oh, okay, yes, I do know about that. The dump is actually the big hill behind Wegmans, and there's going to be, on top of the former dump is going to be recreational fields, it'll be a great, it'll really work out. I think it'll really work out well. Now, next to that is where the golf course, the driving range used to be. I'm sorry. That's going to be a senior center, senior community with both single-family homes, townhomes, and other kinds of. So they're actually constructing that, and there's a lot of housing going back in there, right? And it's a couple hundred units, so it's going to be huge.
What about
The kids, I'm sorry? Well, those are that's senior housing, so, yeah. Yes.
Is any of that housing you talked about before going to be lower income?
Hayfield has, the schools around here, Hayfield particularly has a lot of room too, so it's, even if there were some additional folks, it's part of the Hayfield high school community.
Is it going to be subsidized homes there?
No?
Thank you so much.
I wanted to also recognize you all for really what is truly a momentous occasion, your 90th anniversary, and I wanted to particularly thank you and share this. Let me just read what this says, and then I'm happy to present it to you. I didn't bring my glasses, so I'm doing one of these. Whereas Irving Wells' NSDAR chapter was organized on February 22nd, 1928 by 2 Army officers' wives on Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Whereas the Irving Wells chapter formed with 26 charter members. Whereas the Irving Wells chapter changed its name with the approval of the NSDAR in October 1994 to the Nelly Custis chapter. Whereas the Nelly Custis chapter changed its location from Fort Belvoir, Virginia to Mount Vernon, Virginia on February 2003. Whereas the Nelly Custis chapter is a part of District 5 of the Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution. Whereas the Nelly Custis chapter currently has 156 members, most living in Fairfax County and many actively volunteering for the betterment of the county through activities involving historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Mount Vernon District Office, does hereby congratulate the Nelly Custis NSDAR for its 90th anniversary, dedication, and engagement in the community. Thank you. wonderful rest of the afternoon.
Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to the 90th anniversary fashion show. When you look at clothing and fashion accessories and everything, they can kind of tell you a lot about the women who wear them and the societies in which they were involved. And the 20th and 21st centuries were really liberating for women because they went from being corseted and in heavy restricted clothing to flappers and to poodle skirts and today's much more casual wear. So we're going to start with the 1920s, obviously 1928. It was a decade of liberation for women who enjoyed more freedom than ever before. No longer were they hampered in the clothing that they were wearing to walk in, and they had lots more. Our model for 1928 is Bonnie Wilkins. Bonnie has been a member since 2006. She is the chapter chairman for Public Relations and Media Committee, and she is the chaplain. Well, I can't. Oh, I said that already. Anyway, Bonnie is wearing a dress that she found at a consignment. She got from a consignment store, but then she updated it by putting the collar and everything on that. The mink scarf that she's carrying in her arm, which was worn a lot in the 30s and 40s, was her mother-in-law's. And it belonged to her mother-in-law. The hat was one I had in my closet. Close. But the dresses in 1928 were loose fitting, as you can see. They had dropped waists. They had a fabric belt, a sash in the same contrasting color. Legs were actually seen in public. And if you'll notice Bonnie's stockings, they are quite amazing too. Gloves, of course, gloves were always worn, and lots of times the colors were dyed to match either a dress or accessories. And Bonnie may look petite and feminine, but she likes to use power tools and refinish old furniture. Okay, so now we're going to go chapter chairman for veterans. What she likes to do is talk about her Vietnam experiences to our chapter and other chapters. Marcy comes from a family, she had 6 brothers. She loves to cook, especially bake, has lived in Japan twice, and she has a yes pin from the elementary school in Tokyo from 1954. Elementary. Yeah. She and her husband, got engaged in Hong Kong during R&R from Vietnam, and she teaches friends how to make baklava. She is wearing, her dress that she's wearing and the hat were loaned by Don Jones, who couldn't be here today. The belt and other accessories are all hers. Thank you. 1940s, we had lots of things happening, of course, World War II, the Holocaust, the start of the Cold War, and there was a wide range of clothing. But this wonderful suit that Donna is wearing Donna's a member since 2013, and she's the chapter chairperson for historical preservation. She was born in New York State, lived lots of places. She's a retired school psychologist who worked in Fairfax, Prince George's, and Anne Arundel counties. She enjoys, of all things, riding camels. And she 4 times in the Middle East, And so she's looking forward to her trip this in April to Mexico, where she plans to ride a camel on the beach. She's wearing a royal blue suit loaned by Noreen Clemency's mother, Ruth Rittenover. Ruth is a past regent of the Sarasota DAR chapter. The suit was purchased in 1945. Because her father agreed to pay her college tuition at the University of Pittsburgh, but not pay for her clothes, Ruth spent the summer of 1945 painting the classrooms at Elders Ridge High School in Pennsylvania. The shoes, the Spectators, which were popular at that time, I bought them in 1972 in Rome, but they fit the occasion perfectly. And the hat is loaned by Natalie. So, and that was her mother's house. The next 1940s model is Karen Jordan. Karen's been a member since 1993 at the Philip Perry chapter in Florida. She retained her membership in 2010 when she transferred her membership to Nelly Custis. She's the chapter chairman for DAR Science Service for Veterans. She was a military wife for 30 years, living in various places within the United States and overseas. She was born and raised in Concord, Massachusetts, and that's the site of the first battle of the Revolutionary War. Karen is modeling another outfit provided by Don Jones. This red and white polka dot dress is the type of day wear very common in the 40s. Also the sweater and the hat is for the era. Okay, thank you. When the 1950s came in, there were lots of interesting things. We had the onset of color television and the Cold War and Disneyland. And a lot of clothes were very different. They had a wide variety. And Khrushchev, on his visit, even looked at Americans and thought we were all really well dressed. That's because he wasn't, yes. That's true too. Amanda's our junior member, chaplain also, is a member since 2013. She's the vice president of the Virginia Page Club, the treasurer of the Virginia Junior Club, chapter chairman for junior membership, and she's the chapter duties include the raffle and Facebook pages. Her grandmother is a DAR member in New York. And she has a Dachshund Beagle that is therapy certified, whose name is Johann Sebastian Bach. And they visit retirement homes in the area. And an interesting fact is that in 2010, she was the cherry blossom princess for the state of Maine, because her grandparents are from there. She put this outfit together, except for the beautiful coat, which is owned by Bonnie Wilkins, came from Bonnie Wilkins' family. So, thank you, Bonnie. Our next 1950s is Barbara Evans, and Barbara is a DAR member in the 50s, going to a afternoon tea, probably like this one would be. And she's been a member since 1992 before transferring to Nelly Custis. She was a member at the Anna Marie Fitzhugh chapter in Springfield. She too has a background of being a school psychologist, first for Fairfax County Public Schools. She retired in 2013 and does consulting now. And an interesting fact, the first year her son wanted to play soccer when he was 8 years old, the coach said, well, we need a coach, so you'll have to coach him. So she coached her son and a few other years, and she has a perfect record with coaching little boys soccer. So,
Never won or won every
she won every one, I should say. So she participated also in the Cheyenne, Wyoming Frontier Days. She wore her costume and rode in a stagecoach. So Barbara is also wearing a dress and hat loaned by Don Jones. The purse, gloves, and jewelry are things that came out of my grandparents' closets. This elegant, full-skirted dress exemplifies the rigid, rather stiff fabric that they used in the decade, and she just loves the dress.
If you can't tell.
It's just amazing. The 1960s were an interesting era, and that's where we had cultural clashes and conflicts. We had progress in regard to social and environmental issues, and put a man on the moon, and we had the assassination of President Kennedy and Malcolm King, and then of course we had the Vietnam War as a major factor. And our modeling, the first of our 1960s outfit is Christina Tees. Christina is a junior member. She's been a member since 2017. She grew up in Arlington. She has been married for almost 8 years, and she's the mother of a 7-month-old daughter, Grace. And she works in medical sales. Her mother, Rita, is also modeling in a few minutes, and she also joined in 2017. The outfit that she's wearing is a tan suede miniskirt, turtleneck, and wool blazer with a necklace, peace necklace. The miniskirt was provided by Natalie. That's the skirt that she wore and caused quite a sensation down Fort Bragg wearing that. But she also told me that she bought the skirt in Philadelphia because she knew her mother wouldn't let her buy it. So she had to buy it when her mother wasn't around. The turtleneck is mine, and the blazer was mine in college. So, the necklace was Christina's mom in the 60s, Rita Rooney's. Thank you. Our next 1960s model, we have 3 1960s models. We just found lots of 1960 things. Is Anita Jean Lee, and she has been a member since 2005. She served as an alternate delegate to the 125th Continental Congress. She serves as a greeter for prospective members. In fact, her mother's wedding reception was at the NSDAR in D.C. Her grandmother, mother, and aunts are members of the Emily Nelson chapter. She's been married 48 years. This May has 2 daughters, 1 son, and 4 grandsons. She's a retired bookkeeper. She's a lifetime member and still active in Girl Scouting, 49 years. And as a Girl Scout, she's always prepared. I had a button come off, and where did I go to get sewing things? It had to be to Anita. Anita likes the Jackie O look in the 60s, so she put together this entire outfit from multiple sources to include the UCM back porch and Talbot's and lots of other places. And she put it all together so she has the hat, a blouse, jacket, shoes, scarf, and jewelry. The pearl and gold pin belonged to her mother that she's wearing, as did her gloves, and she even brought a purse and a pocketbook. Amazing. 1960 last model is Sonia Esteve. Sonia has been a member since 2006. In the past, she's been historian, librarian, and webmaster. She's responsible for the yearbook and Patriot Treat, Natalie mentioned earlier, and the website. She was born in Richmond. She was a librarian with the Fairfax County Public School for 30 years. She's a graduate of Bradford with graduate work at both Catholic, UVA, and GMU. She's married for 46 years to Tony, and they have 2 sons, 2 married, and 3 sons, 2 married, and 2 grandchildren. Interesting dog. And a granddog. And 2 granddogs. She played the flute, piccolo, guitar, banjo, and bagpipes in college with the Radford Highlanders. And asked to look at her. Do you all remember having charm bracelets? Because all of these things are on her charm. The banjo, everything. So she marched in Macy's and both the Macy's and Orange Bowl parades. When she was in college, she plays the handful of bells in historic Hovick Church. She's wearing a black and white jumper with a white bow collar and a black double-breasted wool blazer with brass buttons. The white knee-high boots, just like the ones she had in the late 60s. She is also wearing her actual circle pin. How many of you ladies remember in the 60s wearing circle pins? All had your initials on them, right? You didn't go to school without it? Yeah. So in the late 60s, Sonia's aunt took her to a jewelry store to have her ears pierced, because that's where you went to have your ears pierced then. And she wears the charm bracelet that she had in high school and college. Charms were gifts from relatives and friends on birthdays and Christmas. Always personal and related to her activities. So ladies, thank you. We're going to the 1970s, where we had the Watergate scandal, disco, Roe versus Wade, and the television show MASH. Barbara May is a prospective member. She was a special ed teacher and now still is, and she teaches senior citizens about government. Although she spent her youth as a military brat, she now is a small town girl considering DC as her small town, which it kind of really is. She is a mother of 3 sons and has 5 grandchildren, 4 girls and 1 boy. And the interesting fact is, she's still alive after attending 13 different elementary schools. And she was on television with the how many remember the show Kids Say the Darndest Things? Well, our Barbara sat on Art Linkletter's lap and had a conversation with him. And as a result, she won a puppy, but her parents wouldn't let her take it. She has the 2 stars from that. Barbara is wearing a red A-line dress with brown boots, and her purse is one that you made, right?
Right.
And
Back in the day.
In the 70s. And the vest also, right?
I wore the vest.
Yes.
It doesn't quite fit now.
Yeah. Well, that's true with all of us. But anyway, it's a great outfit that a junior would have worn to a meeting in the 70s. 1970s, our next again is Bonnie. Bonnie is a junior, and as you know, this is a wonderful pantsuit from the 70s. It is one that was worn by her mother, who is modeling suit and a guest for see. And she, interestingly enough, Bonnie runs an obstacle course races with her husband Andrew.
In that suit.
And ladies and gentlemen, She actually had that on, the pantsuit on underneath the coat. So that is a great effort. Now we start with the 80s. Start with Liz Hyde, who has been a member since 2004. She's currently registrar and chapter chairman for membership. She was also registrar from 2008 to 2016. She grew up in Ohio, but she spent 30 years as an Air Force wife and says she loved every minute of it. Now, she's wearing a ultra suede suit, gray ultra suede suit, gray stockings, and gray shoes. Please look at that ultra suede suit. She made that. And as an interesting fact, back when she and her husband were assigned in Colorado, they were showing some guests around the NORAD facility, and one of the guests was Ralph Lauren's brother. And she was wearing an ultra suede dress that she had made, and Ralph Lauren's brother turned to people and said, "That's one of our dresses." Oh. So that's, you know, that's how professional work is done. Thank you. Our next 1980s lady is Dr. Mary Beth Cuddy. She's been a member since 2004. She is a Nelly Custis member going to elegant afternoon tea. She's currently first vice regent as well as chapter chairman for programs and women's issues. In the past, she was corresponding secretary, and she is the chapter gynecologist. And last month, if you attended the meeting, she gave a wonderful presentation on women's health issues. Now, Mary Beth is wearing a pink suit loaned by Liz Hyde. Liz wore this to her son's wedding. So it's a very special suit. The hat is one I wore to a wedding in England a long time ago. And the gloves and jewelry were from my grandmother's many collections. And that sort of thing.
You don't know this, but I picked this up in Hong Kong on my payday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And yes. How wonderful. But that is, you know.
It's a wedding ensemble.
Yes. Well, for high tea, it's perfect. I think it's perfect for high tea. So thank you very much. I too am wearing a suit from the 1980s. The shoulder pads should tell everything, and this is a little longer length and all. One of the things I would suggest that afterwards, if you have any questions for the ladies about their outfits or anything, please feel free to ask them. Now we're heading into the 1990s, and our first 1990s is Lynn Bowers Aldersley, and she is a prospective member. She and her sister are the ones that have original members of the chapter. Yeah. So she's an attorney who deals in employee benefits. She grew up in Maryland. Her family has a long history, many generations of living in Maryland. And she and her sister Susan are huge Nationals fans. I asked her the other day if she already had her tickets for the All-Star game. She said she had sent her money in. So, and last year, they were at both of the no-hitters pitched by Nationals pitchers, and they were able to get their scorebooks autographed by them. Lynn is wearing a suit provided by a junior member who couldn't be here today, Kelly Gifford. Kelly's mother wore this colorful blouse and jacket over a black skirt to work in the 90s. It is a great example of what we all would have worn to work. Our next 1990s is Sue Evangelista, who's doing the 1990s. She's mother of Nelly Custis Jr. Bonnie, who just modeled the 1970s suit that her mother owned. She's a member of the Culpeper Minuteman chapter, where she is commemorative events chairperson. She also coordinates the 4th of July parade in Culpeper for the DAR. And they give out flags to children and all, but she really likes wearing colonial clothes. She studies and makes colonial clothing for those kind of things. The suit is hers. She bought it in the spring of 1998. The shoes also are from the late 90s. She was raised in Virginia, and her earliest known Virginia ancestor arrived in 1630. And she plays the tuba in the Prince William Community Band. And as we enter 2000, our model is Rita Rooney. Rita's been a member since 2017. She's currently the chapter chair for the President General's Fund. She's married with 3 adult children, and we saw her daughter Christina joined with her, and Christina was the one modeling Natalie's miniskirt. And she retired last year after 43 years in professional nursing and healthcare management. She recently started her own new business, Healthcare Equalizer. She has published her book, Quality Healthcare for Smart Consumers, was published in 2015. She enjoys traveling and has visited 18 countries to date. She slept through a 5.5 aftershock earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011. So, heavy sleeper. The pink suit she is wearing, she wore it Easter Sunday, May in 2000, and she loves, I think it's a Jackie O look as well, but it also is very Chanel-y too. Yeah, beautiful. Last but not least is Jenny Snyder, who represents current trends today. Jenny is been a member of DAR since October '78. She came to Nelly Custis in 2015. She is the librarian, and although has no official chapter position, I'm calling her the Tea and Tour coordinator. For those of you who attended the wonderful December Lee Bendel House tour and can look forward to the upcoming Tea and Tour at Carlisle House. She was the historian at the Grand Canyon chapter, and this year she will be in DAR 40 years. Did we give her an award for that? She attended Arizona State University. She was an elementary school teacher, and she married a jet pilot. You have a lot of people married to pilots. And she is a Mayflower Society and direct descendant of William Bradford. And she loves cats. Her cat slept in her crib when she was a baby. And you'll notice that one of the pins she is wearing is a cat pin that her husband bought for her. But she's wearing a pair of slacks and a turtleneck and sweater jacket and boots. She's wearing a Saudi gold necklace and earrings that are from Bahrain, a gift in 1991 for her husband when he was flying F-15s in Desert Storm. So, as you know, I once read that there is no such thing as new fashion, that everything is influenced by fashion from before. And I think if you look around what we showed, it really isn't really new fashion, it just changes. Hemlines go up, hemlines go down. Things hang, so tight and in our backyards. But anyway, the most amazing thing, as Natalie pointed out, was that all these amazing ladies just came forward and
put together these outfits and agreed to model. And I thank you all very much. And thank you.
Ladies, please join us down front.
They're going out and coming in the door.
Sure. Got it.
So that was my duty, and I completed it. I want to thank you all for coming today. I'm watching my watch, and I know that you all want to have other things to do on Saturday. But, you know, I have to say this. It is a pleasure to serve Nelly Custis. I served my first 3 years, and I'm now on my second 3 years. And each year I thought of a project that was worthy. We did the restoration of the Nelly Custis crib at Mount Vernon. Everybody thought, how in the world were we going to raise $10,000? But we did. We still do. We sold our cookbook, which is in the back, if you feel that you want to learn more about the restaurants of Old Town Alexandria or the wonderful crab cakes at Mount Vernon Inn. They're all in our cookbook. Our cookbook is also being sold at the Mount Vernon gift shop. The very next year we did the pink dogwoods in honor of Ginny Storage. And then this year we're doing the mapping of the Pohick Church. So I think we have done a lot of service to the community, and we do so because we have girls, women who are willing to do these things. So without you, I wouldn't be standing here. So thank you all. Daughters, yes, you have a floral arrangement that Pamela did. I must say, Pamela came, Donna Procaro came, Mary Beth Cutting came, and we all did a wonderful job in making 12 floral arrangements. And so as we were getting ready to finish them, Pamela says, how are you going to get them in the car? And I said, I'll probably have to make 2 trips. So thank you to the 3 of them, because Mary Beth took the flags, Pamela took the cookbooks, Donna took the charter and the sign out front. So I appreciate all that you have done to help us. What is this question? Yeah. Because Dan Stork threw me way off base, I'm doing everything backwards. We still have one person to hear from today. She is the most important person sitting on this dais. She brings greetings from State Regent Judith Joy Server. May I present to you the Virginia First Vice Regent, Rebecca Rogers.
Good afternoon. It is an honor to bring greetings from the Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution to the honored members of Nelly Custis Chapter. The chapter, as you've already heard, was formerly known as the Irvine Wells Chapter, named for 2 Revolutionary War ancestors of early chapter members. William Irvine was a brigadier general from Pennsylvania, and Thomas Wells was a patriot from Connecticut, according to the history of the Virginia DAR. The chapter, founded on February 22, 1928, was renamed for the adopted granddaughter of George Washington, who was also the daughter of Martha Washington's son, John Parke Custis. She married George Washington's nephew, Lawrence Lewis, lived at Woodlawn Plantation, and is buried at Mount Vernon. It is interesting to note that the Irvine Wells chapter, as you've heard earlier, was founded on Nelly Custis's wedding day of February 22nd. Members of Nelly Custis chapter work tirelessly in Alexandria in Northern Virginia. Many are or were junior members who are the future of this organization. I looked it up on e-membership, and as of yesterday, you had 21 junior members. Most Virginia chapters would give their right arm to have that many junior members. Your work supporting and recognizing veterans, DAR schools, woodlawn plantation, conservation efforts, and community service volunteers are just a few areas where you all truly make a difference. Congratulations and thanks to all of those of you who were involved in preparing for this day. You all look wonderful for 90 years of age, so let's make a date to meet for your 100th. Thank you very much.
We don't look bad for 90, do we? Before I ask Amanda to give the benediction, I want to thank you all for coming today. Each of the tables have a centerpiece. If you feel that you would like to take it home, what I'm going to say is whose ever birthday is closest to today, you have the honor, if you want, to take the flowers home with you. We were trying to be very careful with them, and I tried not to go around the curves really fast this morning. So, without saying anything else, I will now ask Amanda Jakuziak to give the benediction.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we came together this day in celebration of the Nelly Custis 90th anniversary. We give you thanks for the spirit of friendship and patriotism which has sustained us. We are grateful for all of our members who, through the years, have given so generously and unselfishly of themselves in service to our community and our nation. We pray that you guide and direct us as we embrace the future and strive to make wise decisions and act in accordance with your will. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for coming.